Welcome back, my wonderful coin lovers and treasure hunters who are always searching for those unbelievable stories hiding in the smallest corners of everyday life. Because today we dive deep into one of the most surprising, mysterious, and exciting discoveries connected to the history of American coinage, a story built on possibilities, rare mint errors, and the unbelievable hope that an ordinary penny could transform into a treasure beyond imagination. Today we are traveling into the world of the 1976 Liberty Lincoln cent, a simple 1-cent coin from the United States Mint, yet a coin that holds the unbelievable potential of being worth $446 million if it carries the right combination of errors, mistakes, mint mark irregularities, and unexpected anomalies that can elevate it from a common copper coin to an extraordinary, once-in-a-lifetime rarity sought after by collectors and dreamers across the world. This is not just a story about money, it is a story about curiosity, passion, and the thrill of discovering something that millions of people overlook every single day. The 1976 Lincoln cent comes from a time when America was celebrating its bicentennial spirit, and although the penny itself did not receive a special commemorative design like the quarter, half dollar, or dollar did, that year still carries a powerful place in the hearts of collectors. The 1970s represented a period when the mints were transitioning, adapting, adjusting, and developing new approaches to modern production, and during this time, errors could and did slip through the cracks. The Denver Mint, responsible for the 1976 issue, was operating at massive speed, with machines striking countless pennies every hour. When machines operate at high pressure and with immense quantities, the likelihood of strange, unexpected, and rare errors increases dramatically. This is where the potential of the 1976 Lincoln cent becomes so thrilling. One of the most exciting possibilities is the double strike error, where a coin receives two impressions instead of one. Imagine a penny struck once normally, and then struck again after the coin shifts or rotates. This creates doubled features on Abraham Lincoln's face, stretched outlines around his profile, doubled lettering on the date, doubled portions of the word Liberty, or even a second shadow-like impression of the mint mark. When the second strike lands at a different angle or slightly offset, the coin becomes a work of accidental art created by the minting machines. A dramatic double strike with a visible date and mint mark can be an extraordinary rarity worth an enormous amount of money. Another possibility is the off-center strike error, one of the most visually striking and desirable errors in numismatics. Off-center strikes happen when the blank planchet is not perfectly positioned inside the collar during striking. This causes the design to appear shifted, leaving part of the coin blank. An off-center strike of 50 to 80%, while still showing the date and mint mark, becomes highly valuable because the visibility of those elements confirms its authenticity and rarity. A 1976 penny struck noticeably off-center, especially at a dramatic angle, could easily become one of the rarest coins from the decade. There is also the highly prized broad strike error. A broad strike occurs when the retaining collar that normally forms the rim fails to hold the planchet in place. The coin spreads outward during striking, creating a larger, flatter, distorted penny with no normal rim. A broad-struck 1976 penny with crisp details and a clear date would stand out immediately to collectors, especially when combined with another error like doubling, lamination, or a mint mark distortion. Missing clad layers do not apply to copper pennies of that era, but what does apply are planchet composition irregularities. In 1976, pennies should be made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, but sometimes mints accidentally use leftover experimental planchets, foreign metal blanks, or misadjusted alloy mixtures. A planchet of incorrect composition can cause the coin to weigh differently, appear different in color, or strike with unexpected sharpness or muted features. If a 1976 penny were struck on a foreign coin planchet, the difference in weight and sound would immediately reveal its rarity and elevate its value dramatically. Die cracks add yet another layer of possibility. When a die begins to wear, fractures form on its surface. These cracks transfer onto the coins as raised lines, often running across Lincoln's portrait, through the fields, or across the reverse wheat stalks, or in 1976, across the Lincoln Memorial. A major die crack running along the roof of the memorial, or a cud forming where a piece of the die breaks off completely, can make a penny extraordinarily unique. Cuds are especially valuable because they represent severe die failure, and only a small number of coins are struck before the mint removes the damaged die. Die polishing errors are also highly desirable. Over-polished dies can cause important details to fade or disappear entirely. A 1976 penny might show missing lines on Lincoln's suit, faint lettering, ghost-like features, or a barely visible date if the die was excessively polished. These errors are unintentional, unpredictable, and rare, making them important to collectors. A missing designer's initials, an unusually smooth field, or a faint memorial staircase can all contribute to its rarity and value. The mint mark is another potential source of extraordinary value. In the 1970s, mint marks were still hand-punched onto the dies. Any variation in the punching could cause unusual mint mark shapes or errors. A mint mark punched at an angle, punched twice, punched in the wrong area, struck with excess grease, or distorted by a damaged die could produce a penny unlike any other. A double D mint mark on a 1976 penny could be a massive rarity. A mint mark too high, too low, or impossible to replicate adds tremendous value because it represents a unique mistake in the minting process. Struck-through errors can also transform a common coin into a treasure. If foreign material like cloth fibers, metal shavings, grease, or fragments from other coins interferes during striking, it leaves behind unusual impressions. A deep indentation across Lincoln's chest or a textured area on the memorial caused by a strike-through error could make the coin extraordinarily rare. When combined with doubling or a mint mark anomaly, the value multiplies. One of the most dramatic errors is a brockage, where one side of the coin is impressed with a mirrored, reversed image of another coin. If a 1976 penny became stuck to another penny inside the press, the result could be a full brockage on one side, making it one of the most impressive and valuable errors possible. Brockages are extremely rare, especially on Lincoln cents from the 1970s. Multi-strike errors are also possible, though incredibly rare for circulation coins. A multi-struck 1976 penny would show multiple overlapping impressions, giving Lincoln's face a surreal layered appearance, and doubling or tripling the letters and numbers. A coin like this instantly becomes a prized rarity because it captures a moment of complete minting malfunction. Another extraordinary possibility is a clipped planchet error. Clipped planchets occur when the sheet of metal from which blanks are cut overlaps improperly, causing one side of the blank to be missing a portion. This results in a crescent-shaped clip on the coin. A 1976 penny with a dramatic curved clip and a clear date would command high interest from collectors, and if the coin also showed a die crack or mint mark distortion, its rarity would be unparalleled. Even more dramatic is the possibility of a double denomination error, where a penny is struck on a planchet meant for another coin or struck over another coin entirely. Although incredibly rare, such errors have occurred in U.S. minting history. A 1976 penny struck on a dime planchet, or struck over a faded coin from another series, would instantly become one of the most valuable modern errors ever discovered. The size difference between a dime and a penny would create extreme distortions that collectors would consider priceless. Another situation that enhances rarity is the combination of environmental toning with an already rare error. While toning alone does not make a coin valuable, unusual and naturally occurring colors like neon blues, purples, or fiery reds can dramatically increase the desirability of a coin that already has a striking error. A brilliantly toned 1976 penny with an off-center strike or doubled die could create a breathtaking example of minting history, worthy of immense attention. Collectors also look for unusual rim and edge distortions. Collars sometimes malfunction, causing uneven rims, expanding edges, crushed borders, or partial reading, although reading does not apply to pennies. Still, a distorted rim caused by a collar issue could increase the rarity of the coin, especially if accompanied by doubling or a strike-through. What makes the 1976 penny so captivating is that any one of these errors can make it valuable. But when multiple errors occur at once, a doubled die combined with a die crack, an off-center strike combined with a clipped planchet, or a mint mark anomaly combined with a strike-through, the value rises exponentially. It becomes not just a rare coin, but a singular piece of history. The most exciting part is that a coin like this can be anywhere right now. My dear coin lovers and treasure hunters, Now I am going to take you into one of the most surprising and unbelievable stories in the world of American coins, a story that begins with something as simple as a 1-cent piece from the year 1977, struck in Denver, carrying the mint mark D, looking ordinary, feeling ordinary, weighing hardly anything in your palm. Yet hiding inside it the possibility of becoming a coin valued at an unimaginable $443 million, a value so huge that it feels unreal compared to its tiny face value of 1 cent, and yet this journey becomes more fascinating as we explore the errors, the mistakes, the rare striking issues, the minting surprises and the once-in-a-lifetime anomalies that can transform this classic 1977 D Lincoln cent into a rare collectible that changes someone's life completely. And as you listen deeply, keep imagining how many millions of these coins were minted, how many passed through hands unnoticed, how many sat forgotten in jars, how many hid in drawers, yet out of the millions, a few hold secrets that can push their value into legendary heights far beyond anything a normal collector might expect. When we talk about the 1977 D Lincoln cent, we are talking about a coin struck during a time when the United States Mint was dealing with heavy production demands, intense circulation requirements, large batches of planchets coming from different suppliers, and the non-stop pressure of keeping the nation's currency flowing smoothly. In such huge minting volumes, errors become more likely, and sometimes those errors escape detection and enter the hands of the public, turning an ordinary piece of copper-plated steel or bronze into something extraordinary. The 1977 D coin belongs to the Bronze era, carrying its traditional composition, and with that composition comes the possibility of certain types of irregularities that collectors today desperately search for. Now imagine you are holding this 1-cent coin, looking at the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the year 1977 shining below his bust, and the small D mint mark sitting neatly under the date. At first, everything looks normal, but the magic begins when you start examining it closely for signs of doubling, off-center striking, over-polished dies, die breaks, misaligned dies, repunched mint marks, clipped planchets, rotated dies, and all kinds of tough-to-identify variations that transform an ordinary penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. What makes this story even more exciting is that the 1977 D coin has more error possibilities than people realize, and some errors, due to extremely low survival numbers, can skyrocket a coin's value into the tens or hundreds of millions for collectors who chase rarity at levels beyond imagination. It begins with the possibility of a dramatic doubled die. While the 1970s were not famous for extremely strong doubling like earlier decades, the potential for a deep, dramatic doubling on the obverse or reverse still existed because of how dies were prepared at the Denver Mint. A strong doubled die showing doubling on liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," or the date 1977 can create a coin so rare that only a handful might exist. And when something exists at a population level close to zero, collectors fight intensely for ownership, pushing the price higher and higher until it becomes a piece of history worth far more than its material value. Then think about repunched mint marks, something that collectors often overlook in modern coins, but in the 1970s the mint mark was punched manually into each die. And that manual process created countless opportunities for slight shifts, accidental doubling, triple punching, over punches, and misplacements of the D mint mark. A clear, bold repunched mint mark on a 1977 D coin is already amazing, but consider the possibility of a spectacular RPM where the old D appears at a different angle or position, creating a strong visual doubling. Add perfect preservation, and suddenly the coin becomes so rare that its price climbs into unbelievable territory, because collectors want the best example of every minting anomaly ever recorded. Now imagine the possibility of a coin struck on the wrong planchet. Think for a moment about how many different denominations were being produced. A 1977 D penny could theoretically be struck on a dime planchet, on a foreign planchet, on a transitional metal planchet, or even on a clipped or undersized planchet that slipped into the system unnoticed. A 1-cent coin struck on a dime planchet would weigh less, look different, have its design cut off at the rims, and instantly become rare. These off-metal errors are insanely valuable because their populations are tiny, and collectors who specialize in error coins pay huge amounts to acquire them. In some cases, Extremely rare off-metal errors have sold for hundreds of thousands or millions, so if only one example of an extreme off-metal 1977 penny existed, it could reach values in the hundreds of millions because rarity creates desire, and desire creates astronomical prices. Then think about the dramatic error called an off-center strike. Most off-center coins that collectors see are common and not extremely valuable. But what if a perfectly preserved, sharply struck, heavily off-center 1977 penny existed showing nearly a full portrait on one side and a large blank planchet crescent on the other? What if it had the date visible, making it instantly recognizable? Pair that with special preservation and unique characteristics, and suddenly it becomes the kind of coin that collectors fight for at auctions where wealthy bidders push the price to insane levels simply because no other example exists in that perfect condition. Now imagine the possibility of a die break that created a spectacular raised feature. Some Lincoln cents show minor die cracks, but a massive die break can create what collectors call a cud, a large blob of metal that fills the design. A huge cut on a 1977 penny that covers a significant part of Lincoln's portrait or lettering is not just a small error, it's an extremely rare piece of minting history. And if only one or two examples of such an error escaped the mint before the die was replaced, that rarity alone could make the coin worth unimaginable amounts. As we continue exploring the endless possibilities hiding inside a 1977 Lincoln cent, consider another category of errors: broad strikes, where the coin is struck without a proper collar, causing it to spread out wider than normal. A perfect broad strike with a well-detailed portrait and an unbroken rim is strikingly beautiful to collectors. The rarity increases when the strike is strong and even. Now add the idea that this broad strike could combine with another error such as doubling or an unusual mint mark punch, and suddenly that coin becomes a once-in-a-century error combination worth amounts that blow people's minds. And there is more. Think about the strange and rare error called a double strike, where the coin is struck twice either in the collar or out of it. A double strike that shows two overlapping impressions of Lincoln's image in double words, double dates, double details creates a spectacular error coin. If the double strike is dramatic and well preserved, collectors will pay enormous amounts to own such a piece. But imagine that on a 1977 penny, the double strike was so strong, so visually unusual, and so perfectly preserved that it became the only one of its kind. That uniqueness alone creates a value that skyrockets. Then we must talk about the overlooked but extremely rare rotated die error. Most coins have their obverse and reverse aligned perfectly, but occasionally the dies rotate, meaning one side is turned several degrees off alignment. A dramatic rotated die, such as 90 degrees or even 180 degrees, would create a bizarre and valuable variation. If a 1977 penny with a perfect 180-degree rotation existed, its rarity would drive its value skyward, because rotated die pennies from this period are extremely scarce. But one of the most valuable possibilities lies in the dream scenario for collectors: the discovery of a heretofore unknown major error that nobody has documented yet. Imagine a 1977 penny with a combination of 2 or 3 dramatic errors all on one coin, maybe a double die combined with an off-center strike, combined with a repunched mint mark. A combination error of this magnitude could exist only in 1 or 2 examples in the world, and that ultra-rarity is exactly what pushes certain coins to values so enormous that the number sounds unreal. Like $443 million for a single copper cent that originally cost only 1 cent to make. My very important coin lovers and treasure hunters, now I want to take you into a journey that begins with something so small and ordinary that most people walk past it without even noticing, yet inside that tiny piece of metal lies a world of secrets, mysteries, possibilities, and shocking value that can change someone's life in a single moment. I'm talking about the United States 1-cent Liberty Lincoln penny from the year 1981, a coin that most people think of as a common everyday copper piece, but in rare conditions and under certain error circumstances can skyrocket far beyond its face value to the unimaginable number of $437 million. And today I want to open your mind to how such a transformation could ever happen. What kinds of minting anomalies contribute to such astronomical value, how collectors react to extremely rare penny errors, and why a simple date like 1981 marks a very important era in the entire history of Lincoln cents. So I welcome you warmly, inviting you to sit back and join this exploration where an ordinary penny becomes an extraordinary story, because every collector knows that behind each year and each mint mark there hides not just metal but history, unpredictability, and sometimes life-changing rarity. And as we begin, I want you to imagine holding a 1981 penny in your hand, feeling its familiar texture, noticing the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, and thinking that this is just a simple coin produced in the millions, yet deep inside you wonder whether this exact one you're holding could be something special. That curiosity is where the journey begins, because a coin you assume is worth a cent today could end up being the one that breaks records tomorrow if the right combination of errors and anomalies exist on its surface. The 1981 penny sits at a historical turning point because it was part of the final full year when the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents using the traditional copper alloy before transitioning fully into the zinc composition that would dominate 1982 and onward. This means that 1981 pennies are part of the last great era of the famous copper cents. Their weight, their tone, their metallic resonance, and even their striking qualities carry characteristics that collectors deeply appreciate. And when you combine the significance of the last copper era with the fascinating world of mint errors, that's where the possibility of a huge value like the astounding $437 million becomes a part of the imagination of collectors and a symbol of what could theoretically happen in the world of ultra-rarity. As we dive deeper into this story, imagine how errors begin. Sometimes it starts with something as subtle as a misaligned die or a weak strike. Other times, the minting process faces more dramatic issues like a double die obverse where the details on Lincoln's portrait, or the lettering such as Liberty, or In God We Trust appear doubled, giving the coin an immediately noticeable uniqueness. Collectors seek these doubling varieties relentlessly because even a slight doubling can multiply value dramatically. But when you imagine a dramatic doubling with crisp visibility under magnification, you begin to understand how a simple cent might leap into the thousands or even millions for a perfect storm of rarity. In the world of 1981 pennies, there are also possibilities of wrong planchet errors, where instead of striking the penny on its intended copper planchet, the mint accidentally used a blank meant for a foreign coin or another denomination. These wrong planchet errors have been discovered in other years, and because of that, collectors always wonder whether a 1981 specimen might exist carrying such an anomaly. If a 1981 cent had been struck on a rare wrong metal planchet, perhaps a transitional 1980 alloy or a foreign coin blank, the uniqueness could turn the penny into an object of historical significance that collectors would compete fiercely to acquire. Then imagine the dramatic event where a coin is struck more than once, resulting in a double strike or triple strike error. These errors often create twisted, overlapping, or incomplete images that look like the coin is melting into itself. They are incredibly striking to look at and immediately turn any coin into a valuable collectible. Some double-struck pennies have sold in auctions for massive amounts, and that means that if a 1981 penny had such a dramatic double strike combined with pristine condition, the value could skyrocket far beyond normal expectations. Another fascinating category includes off-center strikes, where the design shifts toward one side of the coin, leaving a blank crescent of metal on the opposite side. Off-center errors can be mild at around 5% or dramatic at 50% or more. When the off-center strike is extreme but still shows the date, collectors go wild because the date placement is key to identifying and valuing the error. So imagine a 1981 penny off-center by the perfect amount, retaining the date while showcasing a dramatic misalignment. That coin alone could already fetch thousands, and combining it with other anomalies could multiply that value again. Along with these striking errors, clipped planchets also appear in the world of rare pennies. These occur when the sheet of metal used for creating planchets overlaps incorrectly, causing circular cuts that remove a curved portion of the coin. A clean, well-formed clipped planchet error that also retains strong details becomes extremely desirable. Collectors always want a clean clip, and when a penny from a historically significant year like 1981 has such an error, the value increases dramatically. But the story doesn't stop there, because mint mark anomalies play another powerful role. The 1981 pennies were minted at multiple U.S. Mint locations, including Denver and Philadelphia. The Denver versions carry the D mint mark, and this small letter holds enormous importance when it comes to identifying errors. Sometimes the mint mark is repunched, creating what collectors call RPM errors, repunched mint marks. This happens when the mint mark punch lands slightly off target and requires multiple punches to align it. As a result, you might see shadows or ghost-like impressions behind the mint mark. These RPM varieties have sold for impressive prices, and a dramatic 1981 D repunched mint mark error in flawless condition could easily become legendary among collectors. Now imagine combining several rare occurrences: a strong double die, a repunched mint mark, an off-center strike, and perhaps even a clipped planchet, all on a copper 1981 penny from the final full year of copper production. Collectors know that the rarer the combination, the more valuable the coin becomes. And while such combinations are exceedingly unlikely, the possibility is what ignites the imagination and fuels discussions about how some rare coins could theoretically be worth unimaginable sums. When someone finds a rare penny, the excitement spreads across the collector community like a spark racing across dry grass. News of the find drives people into their coin jars, pocket change, old boxes, and forgotten dusty jars in the garage or attic, all in the hope of discovering something similar. The idea that a small coin could be worth hundreds of millions is not presented as a guaranteed market price, but rather as a demonstration of how rarity, extreme uniqueness, and collector demand can theoretically combine to produce astronomical value levels. When an era coin becomes one of a kind, truly unique in ways never documented before, its value is defined not by standard price guides but by what the wealthiest collector in the world is willing to pay. The sense of mystery in the world of era coins fuels the fascination of collectors. They look at each coin with curiosity, wondering what secrets lie beneath the surface. The tiniest crack in a die or the smallest shift during the striking process can produce something that changes history. It's a reminder that perfection isn't the only thing collectors seek. Sometimes it is the imperfections that hold the greatest value, and the 1981 penny remains a powerful symbol of this concept. It sits on the border between the old copper era and the new zinc era, making it a historical bridge between two major phases of American coinage. Collectors often say that the years just before a major change are some of the most exciting to collect, because the minting equipment might show signs of wear or stress, producing unusual varieties. That is exactly what makes the 1981 penny such an intriguing piece of American history. As you hold one of these coins, you start noticing the details. You study Lincoln's hair, the smoothness of the cheek, the clarity of the lettering. A perfect strike shows crisp, sharp details, especially in the beard and the coat. But a weak strike might blur these features, and although weak strikes are not always valuable, sometimes they reveal interesting underlying issues like die wear or misalignment. The reverse of the 1981 penny, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, brings its own set of possibilities. The details of the columns, the steps, the statue inside the memorial, and the lettering around the design can hold clues about double dies, die deterioration, or even foreign material contamination that might cause discoloration or unusual surface textures. Collectors often use magnification to search for doubled pillars or signs of doubling on the words 1 cent or United States of America. When doubling is sharp and well defined, it can be a sign of an extremely rare and valuable variety. In some cases, coins leave the mint with die chips, small raised lumps caused by metal blocking parts of the design die. My wonderful coin lovers, treasure hunters, and curious minds from all around the world, today I welcome you into a journey that begins with a simple, tiny, ordinary-looking copper penny, a coin so small and so commonly used in daily life that most people don't even think twice before tossing it into a drawer, a corner of a wallet, or a jar full of loose change. But today, we're going to open your imagination and take you deep into the world of numismatics, where even the smallest coin can hold enormous secrets, incredible history, and unbelievable value. And the coin that takes center stage today is the United States 1 cent Liberty Lincoln penny from the year 1982, a year that completely changed the world of American pennies forever. And this single year, This specific turning point in the history of U.S. coinage carries the potential mysteries and incredible possibilities that could make one single 1982 penny worth not just a few dollars or even a few $1,000s, but an absolutely mind-shaking $433 million under the most extreme combination of errors, anomalies, and once-in-a-lifetime minting mistakes. So I welcome you to hold your curiosity tightly as we open the door to this world of hidden value. Because when it comes to 1982 pennies, the story becomes far deeper than any ordinary year. This year wasn't just another chapter in the history of Lincoln cents. It marked a major transition in what pennies were made of, how they were struck, how they behaved, how they aged, and how collectors would view them for generations to come. If someone today holds a 1982 penny in their hand, that coin might look ordinary, familiar, maybe even unremarkable. But the truth hiding beneath that simple appearance is that 1982 contains one of the most complex and fascinating sets of varieties in the entire century of Lincoln penny production. This year changed everything. Up until 1982, pennies were made of a copper alloy, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving them that rich, heavy, warm metallic feel that collectors still love to this day. But in 1982, something massive happened. The U.S. Mint decided it was time to transition from copper to a much cheaper and lighter metal core made mostly of zinc with a thin copper plating. This meant that during that year alone, millions of pennies were made of copper, and millions were made of zinc. And even more interesting, both small date and large date versions were produced for different compositions and different mint locations. This resulted in one of the most confusing yet exciting years for collectors, because 1982 has more varieties than almost any other penny year. And where there are varieties, there are opportunities for mistakes, anomalies, minting errors, and rare combinations that could make a coin unimaginably valuable. Collectors know that any year involving a major transition in metal composition is a goldmine of possibilities. When equipment changes, when dies are swapped, when planchets differ, when mint workers adjust settings and production ramps up or down, this is exactly when minting errors are most likely to appear. And the 1982 penny came right during such a transition. Imagine thousands of planchets passing through the machinery while mint workers are trying to keep track of which metals should be used where, adjusting for weight differences, preparing new dies, shifting production settings, and dealing with the pressure of high demand. It is during these transitional moments that something unexpected can slip through. And when something unexpected slips through at the U.S. Mint, that is where the story of extreme rarity begins. Now imagine holding a 1982 penny in your hand. You look at the date, you feel the weight, maybe you notice a difference between one coin and another. Perhaps one coin feels heavier, another sounds different when dropped on a table, another one has a slightly different tone of copper. These tiny differences are clues that collectors use to unlock the secrets of 1982 pennies. Because in this single year, you could have a copper large date, a copper small date, a zinc large date, a zinc small date, and 1982D varieties with their own unique combinations. That means 8 known major varieties exist, but what collectors always wonder is whether there are more unknown, undiscovered, undocumented anomalies that were minted accidentally and never caught. This is where the possibility of extremely high value enters the conversation. If a coin from 1982 shows an unusual combination of traits, such as a copper planchet weight combined with a design that should only appear on a zinc variety, or a mint mark style not used on that specific die, or a striking error on a planchet that doesn't match its composition, collectors immediately recognize the importance. These kinds of anomalies are what transform an ordinary penny into something that experts and wealthy collectors compete fiercely to acquire. But beyond composition differences, 1982 pennies also bring the exciting world of minting errors that could theoretically push the value into the hundreds of millions if the right combination exists. Imagine a dramatic double die where the lettering on Liberty, or In God We Trust, reveals a crisp, easily visible doubling. These types of double die errors have made some coins from other years worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even more. But if a 1982 penny had such doubling combined with a rare variety or metal composition anomaly, the value could multiply exponentially. Then imagine a coin struck off center, where the design shifts to one side so dramatically that part of the planchet remains blank while the date is still visible. Off-center strikes attract enormous excitement in the collector world, especially when they occur during historically important years. And 1982 is particularly important because an off-center strike on the wrong composition could mean the coin was struck during a transitional moment when mistakes were likely to happen. Another possibility arises with wrong planchet strikes, which occur when a coin is struck on a blank meant for a completely different coin. Imagine a 1982 penny struck on a dime planchet, or even a foreign coin planchet accidentally fed into the machine. These errors have happened in many other years, and they always cause huge excitement because they produce coins of different weight, different thickness, and different sound. If a 1982 penny was struck on a planchet not belonging to its intended design, and if that coin remained in excellent condition, it could easily break auction records. Then there are dramatic double strikes, where the coin receives more than one hit from the striking dies. Sometimes the second hit lands at a different angle or position, creating a twisted or overlapping design. These double strikes can be incredibly eye-catching, and when combined with transitional year traits, the value skyrockets even more. You also have repunched mint mark errors, known to collectors as RPMs. These occur when the mint mark punch was used more than once, creating shadow-like impressions above or below the main mint mark. A strong RPM on a 1982 D penny is already a valuable find, but imagine an extreme RPM combined with a rare composition and perhaps an additional striking error. This kind of combination becomes the type of coin people talk about for decades. Die cracks and die chips also play a role. These raised lines or lumps on the coin appear when the die used to strike the coin begins to deteriorate or break. Although small die cracks are common, large dramatic ones, especially those that form interesting shapes or stretch across significant sections of the design, can attract high collector interest. When a die crack is large enough to form what is called a cud, where a portion of the die breaks away completely, leaving a blob on the coin, collectors become even more excited. A major cut error on a 1982 penny, especially one with copper composition, could easily become one of the most sought-after coins of the decade. And this brings us to the next level of rarity coins that combine multiple unrelated errors. Although extremely unlikely, occasionally coins are discovered with more than one severe anomaly, such as a double die combined with an off-center strike, or a repunched mint mark combined with a clipped planchet, or a wrong composition combined with missing elements. These multi-error coins quickly become legends. In the rare event that a 1982 penny emerged with several stunning errors stacked on top of each other, collectors would view it as a once-in-a-century discovery. And this is precisely where the theoretical value of $433 million comes in. It is not about the common 1982 penny you might hold in your hand right now. It is about the possibility, the imagining, the almost mythic idea that somewhere out there, perhaps lost in a drawer or hiding in an old jar, there might exist a coin from this transitional year containing a combination of errors so unique that no other coin in history matches it. In the world of numismatics, the value of a coin is determined by supply and demand, rarity and desirability, condition and historical context. And when something is unique, truly one of a kind, its value becomes limited only by what collectors with deep pockets are willing to pay. And history has shown time and time again that wealthy collectors chase unique coins with a passion that often pushes prices into levels beyond imagination. Imagine an ultra-rich collector who has spent decades trying to assemble the most complete collection of US coins ever created.